Well, it was a rocky week on Wall Street that had investors spooked to the tune of $4 trillion. A knee-jerk reaction to tariff talk, trade wars, and a potential recession. Joining us to help put it all into perspective is Michael Green, Wealth Management Advisor at Apollon Wealth Management. Good to have you with us.
Great to be here.
Okay, so mentioned a few things. Certainly, we've been hearing a lot about the tariffs. That is something that the president has been talking about for months and months. We are seeing some retaliation, some pushback. What are some of the other culprits that are causing such a wild ride on Wall Street?
Well, I think it's important to remember that we are coming off a very big year in the markets. I think the S&P 500 was up over 20% last year. So there is a natural course of sort of the market cycles. This time of year does tend to be a little bit of a retraction or sort of repositioning and reallocation for lots of people and institutions and firms. So I think it all matters.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think there's a lot of individual investors can be very susceptible to their own sort of panics and fears and worries, and lose sight of the long term of how they're positioned with their investments. And so I think that there's a lot there to unpack.
Sure, of course. And this is the kind of thing that it always bounces back. What goes up must come down,
Right.
And we saw an all-time high. We're about 9% off of that as of the middle of last week. So it's a constant fluctuation. What should people who have money invested in the stock market do and not do when faced with something like this?
I think that the biggest role that professional advisors can have in a client's life is helping to sort of hold their hand through times like this where there is volatility.
Sure.
And remind them that they are allocated for long-term investment strategies, and to really keep that in mind, and to not let sort of the short term blind them from what their objectives are in the long run.
What does this spell for people who have a 401k right now?
They're going to be worried.
Yeah.
But if you're 15, 20 years from retirement, or you're at the very early onset of your career, 30 years from now, this will really look like just another little blip on the graph. So for most people can kind of take a breath and ignore the news and the hype, and as long as they're in an investment strategy that's well diversified, they're prepared for this.
Okay.
Advisors often coach their clients to not invest in one thing. Right now is why, so that you are tempered from some of the drawback when there is a downturn in the market, and you give up a little bit of the upside potential for that. But most people like the safety and security of not losing their funds, and are willing to give up a little bit of the upside.
So as we look at it today, we certainly hope to never have to live through another great recession. But for those older investors, if we do run into a recession, what do you think that's going to look like this time around?
That's really hard to say. I mean, nobody has that crystal ball. We have definitely been poised for a market correction. Whether we go into a full recession or not, that's the crystal ball that everybody would love to be able to look into. That said, for people who are within 5 to even sometimes 10 years of retirement, my industry likes to call that the retirement red zone, which is a really fun name, especially around football season. But having some clarity on what's coming, not over the next 6 months, but what are my goals in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, and how do I need to start preparing myself to be in a position to withstand major market corrections like this? So for the unfortunate few, and there will be those folks out there who are not prepared for this. They're going to need to revisit their financial plans and what they're willing to do over the next couple of years. It may mean that they have to work a little bit longer.
And their financial advisor. So Apollon, got to give them a call. I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
the conversation.
me. Thank you.
We're back after this.